We're having a look at the cherry tomato plants I grew from seed a few months ago when I squished some seeds out of a little cherry tomato. They're growing really well, and now that they're starting to set flowers, I just want to come down here and do some pruning. I want to remove the lower leaves, or the lower branches even, because I want to improve airflow down there. It's really quite thick. There's so much vegetation, and I really want the plants just to work on creating lots and lots of flowers and tomatoes and not worry so much about the vegetation. If we get rid of some of the lower branches, we're also going to be sure there's no disease from the soil coming up into the plant. None of these ones seem to be touching the ground, but it can be that can be a risk if they start touching the ground, and then they bring all kinds of pests and diseases up into the plant and just hurt the plant. So we're going to just remove them. I've got a really sharp pair of garden scissors here, and I'll just go around and just remove the lower branches and try to improve airflow that way. Just come really close to the stem and just snip it just like that. And I'm also going to add some more crushed eggshells to the soil, because it's a really good way to use like kitchen waste. I've got eggshells, and once they're completely dry, so I actually put them in a hot oven for about 15 minutes or so once I've used the oven, just in the residual heat that's left there after cooking. And then I take them and blitz the eggshells, and I get like a big bunch of them like this. That's lots and lots of eggs. And then I just take them and sprinkle them onto the soil, and that just adds a bit of calcium to the soil, because that can also prevent blossom end rot that you can get if you don't get enough calcium in there. And also it helps the tomatoes taste even better, I think. So I tend to feed that both to the tomatoes and to the chilies and everything. So, but what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you how it looks after I've done a bit of pruning. I'm going to go around and just snip off all the lower branches. Like that. Really clean cuts. You can actually snip all the way up to the first truss of flowers, which is all the way up there. So there's quite a bit of snipping I can do. But I mean, if you live in a really hot climate, you don't want to, because these leaves also can help protect the soil from getting too dried out, or even the plant from getting sunburn. So I mean, I'm here in the UK, so it's pretty wet, not that hot, but it does get warm. So I'm going to leave a few of them on and just try to thin them out a bit and just make sure that there's enough airflow in there. I'll come back and show you how it looks once I've done it. So as you can see, I removed about at least a quarter, if not a third, of all the leaves or the foliage, and that should really create a much better airflow down there. It was really, really thick with vegetation. It'll make watering a lot easier. And as I said, I'm going to sprinkle some more eggshells down there just to make sure there's lots of calcium for the plants to suck up. And one more thing I'm going to do is every day when I come out and I sort of hand pollinate the flowers, as I talked about in a different video, I just go like that just to sort of tap them and make sure that they all get pollinated. I also look out for any little suckers, because they tend to grow quite fast. And if you look on this plant over here, there's actually, right here on the elbow, there is a little sucker coming up. And sometimes if you just get to it, when it's that small, you can just sort of get it like that really fast before it grows up anymore. You have to make sure it's not a flower you're getting, but the suckers usually tend to grow on the little elbow there, the little crooks, so they're quite easy to recognize. Over here there's another one here. If you look, that little guy, he's also a little sucker that you can just sort of get out, rub out pretty fast. I have to go back over him again, but they're important to get rid of, because otherwise they can just suck up lots of energy that we don't want going into branches. We want going into the flowers and the fruits. So that's one thing I look out for every day, just to make sure they're not growing. Suddenly, before you know it, you've got loads of branches, and we don't want that. So with a single leader plot. But there we go. I'll see you next time.